Hello, 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 and welcome to our Pride Inside podcast, a very unique initiative for this year's Pride campaign, globally run by our BU community and hosted here in our wonderful Pride headquarters in Hamburg.
We have prepared 3 podcast episodes. So in the first one, we will talk about the entire campaign, how this idea came to life, what was the process behind. Then we have 1 episode with one of our artists, and then a 3rd episode where we will take the brand perspective into consideration. I am Sophie, Global Junior Brand Manager for Nivea and a BU core team member since beginning of this year. And I sit here with Sebastian, the co-founder of the Colors of Pride campaign.
Thank you so much, Sophie. I'm Sebastian. I'm part of the CUE People and Culture. And since day 1 here at Beiersdorf, I'm also a proud member of our BU core team. So I'm very happy to be here today.
We have prepared a little rainbow rapid fire. So Sebastian, who is your favorite queer artist or icon?
And I have to say that's a very generic answer, I guess, but still my all-time favorite. It's Lady Gaga. It's an icon and I love it. The music is so special to me and means a lot. Who's your favorite artist?
At the moment, many, but at the moment I would say Chapel Roan.
Oh yes.
Love the music as well. Brings a lot of visibility.
Maybe let's move to the second question. What's your most underrated moment of queer joy?
I really love drag shows for that because the atmosphere, the happiness that you feel in the room, everyone is supporting the artist on stage, everyone is having a good time. Can it get any better than that?
I guess not.
Well, what about you? Maybe?
For me, it's actually quite a blunt one. It's a little moments, but in Germany, some of these supermarket chains started to adopt these little rainbow flags at the entrance. So when you enter the store, there are little rainbow flags. And I mean, it's bare minimum what they can do. But I actually feel welcomed and supported by that. So these little moments of like, yay, a little pride flag in places where you would not have expected those is actually making me quite happy.
One word to describe this campaign.
And I thought for a long time, because we created this campaign, or the idea started roughly 6 months ago. So it's been a long time. But overall, the one word for me is belonging. I really felt so much love, contribution, passion from all the people, and the stories that we unlocked with this campaign are just insane. So many personal one-on-one conversations that I had, and this really fostered a sense of belonging for me with Beiersdorf, but also with the queer community and our employee base overall. So belonging is really the word for me. But what is it for you?
Goosebumps.
Ooh,
I think you already touched on that throughout the stories that we heard, but also the very different and unique perspectives that we also get on our brands. That was something really,
Very nice, yeah. Very touching, and I felt the goosebumps quite often, I have to say.
And then, final question, what's your favorite Pride anthem?
Coming back to Lady Gaga, it's Born This Way. Every morning, sometimes, for an internship, literally every morning, I listen to it and strut to work, and it's really giving me that energy, the diva energy that I really sometimes feel in the workplace is needed. So Born This Way is my absolute all-time favorite Pride anthem, if you want to say so. What about you?
Padam Padam, Kylie Minogue.
Yes.
Once it was published, I thought, yes, this is going to be the Pride anthem of the season, and I think I heard it so many times, lots of memories connected with that.
Very nice.
Would go for that one. So let's talk about our campaign.
Let's go.
And every great campaign starts with an idea. So how was this idea of Colors of Pride born, Sebastian?
Absolutely. Very interesting question, because I mean, generally, I feel so supported by Beiersdorf, and it's never the question if we do something, but how and how big we can do it. And thus, I always felt that there is a platform for us to bring in ideas. So I was really challenging myself and thinking, what can we do? And coming back to an idea of one of my colleagues when I studied in my master's in Barcelona in Spain. And Neil, huge shout out to Neil, by the way, he actually started at Henkel, I have to say, as a brand manager for Got to Be. And I took the frame or word Steal with Pride a bit too literal, because he actually did something very similar. We had a very queer community and queer artistic community in Barcelona of friends, and he just invited some illustrators to create some small illustrations for some of the brands, and they did not really do anything big about it. They had a little luncheon, but the ideas, the visuals, the stories that were behind those pictures were so powerful, and I thought, why can't we do something like this here at Beiersdorf? And then we started to have some conversations with some people about what about an artistic campaign at Beiersdorf where we invite some artists? And everyone was quite fond of it, but it was very unclear where to go with that idea. And in the end, now we're sitting here in this crazy studio with 6 so unique artworks. I think that's really, really cool.
And talking a bit about the process, how did all of that go? You already touched a bit upon that, but could you go more into detail with that?
As said in the beginning, we started with this whole campaign roughly 6 months ago. And in the beginning, it was more like an idea and we shared it within our BU core team. But then we quickly realized, okay, if we want to make it big, if we want to make it authentic and impactful and not just a pinkwashing campaign, we really have to invest some time and work to develop a proper concept. And we sparked the idea with some people like Briggs, one of our artists actually, that we collaborated before, and asked him as an artist that might contribute, what would you need to make this an honest, authentic campaign? We also talked to some other people like Konstantin Adamopoulos, who is a curator in one of Germany's biggest museums, and really speak to what kind of payment is fair to these artists and how can we make a solid campaign. Literally every person added another great idea, and to the more people you spoke, everyone contributed amazing ideas and said, why not make a podcast? Why not make an audio guide? Why not offer guided tours through the Pride Room? So more and more ideas came, and over the time the whole concept or the whole idea of this campaign was really born and started to conceptualize. So that was really, really nice to see that everyone was so passionate driving the ideas and not only quitting some ideas and saying, maybe be careful here. It was the opposite. Everyone added things on top and said, let's do this and this and this. And I think, at least for me, that was super energizing over the last 6 months to really see how much ideas pop up, how much personal stories are bursting behind the surfaces when you really ask people and provide a platform like this that talks about art and brings queer joy to life.
Talking about adding things to it, we are also including our beloved brands in this campaign. Yes. And what made a good pairing of the artist's story or the artist's perspective with the respective brands? Or what was the process of matching?
Before we even started to reach out to potential artists, we of course had a question or a session with all the brands, and we reached out to the brand managers to ask if they want to participate, and if yes, in what kind of way or form they would be open, and they already gave us some ideas. For example, Nivea could be something that is caring, but what does care really mean for queer people? It might be something different when you feel the touch of your body, because maybe you don't feel as well so much home in your body. Or even Labello, where we talk about kissing and lips. Most of our campaigns are something focused on the lips, but kissing in public for queer people is quite different. So some kind of themes emerged quite naturally, where we, from a queer perspective, thought about the brands and said, this brand is so cool and so unique and iconic, but for queer people, it might even mean something different or can be interpreted in a different way. And those were the ideas that we sparked with some of the brand managers of our 5 brands that in the end are participating. And then once we had a rough outline of the brands that will be participating in this campaign, but also with some kind of first ideas and hints, we then reached out to the artists, but we wanted to make sure that we give them as much artistic freedom as possible. So we did not really want to say, okay, this is the one word you need to focus on, or this is a concrete idea. We rather set a very open frame and said, you can do whatever interpretation of our brand you like, but maybe you can orientate yourself around these few words. And then it was such a huge brand fit, and I'm so proud to see the final results of all the artworks that we have now together here.
Amazing. That sounds super smooth, but I mean, from working on this campaign, I know that there were also some challenges, very also learnings that emerged from it. And since this is the very first edition of this campaign, could you elaborate a bit more on those challenges?
Of course. I think the first one is exactly what you mentioned. It's the very first edition of this. So I mean, it's not every day that we create a Pride campaign where we collaborate with artists, which is basically not a marketing campaign, but a non-profit awareness, internal, from employee to employees campaign. And to communicate this vision was very difficult in the beginning, because especially when you talk to marketeers who will think of, okay, can we send influencers to that event? Can we make an external campaign, which is exactly the right thinking for marketeers. But for our end, where we really wanted to make an authentic Pride campaign that is internal, really for employees, that was for us difficult and challenging to communicate the vision of we want to envision, what they want to envision, how we come together, and also to some degree, where do we draw a line to avoid pinkwashing and to really make it a contribution to our community, to build a platform for the artists. So that was a challenge, I have to say, sometimes, because even with some quite senior marketing leaders, when you spot the idea, it is sometimes difficult to say, that would be a perfect opportunity to send in some influencers, but I think the artists would not like it because those are sometimes quite personal stories and they want to have more like an intimate, safe space, and for them, that means not to have influencers who just post stories about it. So that was a very fine line of how far do we want to go, because we want to communicate about it. We want to make it big and bold and seen and heard, especially in these times around the world. It's more important than ever, but at the same time, keeping it a bit in scope and small. So there was this kind of very fine line, how big, how small, how much communication, how little communication. So that was a bit also a challenge for us to really define where do we position this whole campaign.
We have, or you have already talked about the word pinkwashing quite often until now. Yeah. Maybe to quickly elaborate to the audience what pinkwashing actually means. So you might be familiar with the term greenwashing, and basically pinkwashing, it's the same analogy. So we're not talking about sustainability, but we're talking about the LGBTQ+ community and on how companies basically would take advantage of the community to without actually having genuine interests. And interestingly, I was quite curious where the pink comes from, and the pink is a reference to glowing things up.
Yeah.
But for this campaign, so you already mentioned some examples. Also, our artists put a lot of work into this campaign, and how would we make sure that everything was very fair also for the artists?
Absolutely. That's a very important question, because just as you mentioned, when big corporates with a lot of power and privilege and resources approach small artists that usually have their platform but maybe are not that well known yet, there's a power difference. And there's always it would be easy for the big companies to say, hey, please provide me this, and then we make it quite big. But if you imagine now, if we have a local artist from Hamburg who does a painting, and then at an event, 6 of our biggest brands or 5 of our biggest brands all over Instagram put their stories around this, that would be quite unfair to a degree, because that small artist is usually not properly paid for that. So to avoid this kind of inauthentic, we just use you for our own gain and profit and brand equity building campaign, we try to do different things to really make sure that this is not pinkwashing, but an authentic campaign. Firstly, as shared in the beginning, we talk to those artists and openly ask them, what do you need from us to make this an authentic campaign where you feel represented, where you feel fairly treated, and that comes along with a fair payment, that comes along with a fair contract that is outlined, what is entailed and what not. And also when it comes to publicity sharing, that it's not the kind of thing like, hey, look, we collaborated with a queer person, that's why we are now a Vogue company, or whatever you want to put it. It's more about a long-term collaboration to really bring them in, to make their stories heard, to give them a platform to really share authentically. And we try to do all of that. And also when it comes to the payment, I think it's just fair, because it's their life's work, right? They're artists. So even when they come to event and attend events and make a story, that is the artwork. And another element that is super important is the payment, because it's their life's work and vision. Because even if they go to events and attend those, if they post stories, that is not something they do in their free time, but that is basically their work that they get paid for. Because the publicity, promoting stuff, that is what they get paid for. And then it's important that even if we collaborate further beyond the actual piece of art that they created, but inviting them for events, making stories, that we actually pay them for that as well, because that is their work, and we should be very respectful about that and also make sure. And that is something we really pushed for, and I think reached a good level internally, and also had the chance to educate some of our colleagues about that topic.
Talking about payment, can we reveal how we ensure this fair payment?
In terms of payment, we managed that each artist gets some from you, from the fixed community, but then also the brands are contributing. And what is very important is that we also have installed a mechanism that all the brands contributing, but also for the further merchandise, if you buy the t-shirts here on campus, or if you buy prints and posters, that we gather donations for a very important organization here in Hamburg, because one of our core values, care, has the expression, make a difference in society. And we believe that it's important to really be part of the communities that you're active in. And especially here in Hamburg, we have one organization called Refugee Sisters that helps queer refugees with any kind of first aid they need. Might it be translation work? Is it a place to stay for a night? If it's legal advice, because especially queer refugees, you can imagine in these kind of places that they're accommodated, it's usually not the most queer-friendly place. And if you're a trans person, if you're a non-binary person, that might be very physically dangerous environment for you. So this organization is super, super important. And that is why we said, okay, we not only want to make a fair payment to the artists, but we also want to contribute to a local organization to really have an impact in our community here, where we can ensure that the funds really go to the people that need the help financially, but also in terms of other resources, of time investment, of having someone to talk to, which this organization is providing. So we're very happy that we can make this happen.
So a lot of purpose behind that.
Yes.
And I would say that's your call to action to pre-order the t-shirts from now on in the product shop. Coming to the ending of our first podcast session and also coming to the closing question, what does pride mean to you?
That's a very big question. I think I would come back actually again to the word belonging, because in the beginning, when I was young, the typical start, I don't want to reach out too much, but I never really felt a sense of belonging or home. That is also one of the topics that our artwork is touching upon. But the queer community, even though it's dispersed and often not really sticking together from the letters from the LGBTQ, still I felt a sense of belonging and being part of something bigger and giving me a community that I actually feel those are people that are like me, which was difficult for me in my small hometown to see because there was no representation. And this visibility, this belonging to something bigger really gave me a lot of drive, passion, feeling home in my own body. So that was really a big topic. And celebrating this kind of pride that I'm part of this community outside and having these moments to share that with the outside world really makes me proud a lot. But how about you? What does pride mean to you?
I think it's being the most authentic and the most happiest version of yourself and being absolutely confident with who you are.
It's so cute. I love it. Okay, thank you so much.
Being very precise on that one.
Okay.
Okay, here we are almost at the end of our podcast. And maybe we can give a little teaser. And because one of my last questions that I prepared was, why should you visit the Pride Room? And I think this teaser is quite a good answer to that question.
We have received so many cool artworks, and this is actually one of those. This is from Briggs, the artist who worked on the Hansaplast artwork. So it's very, very cool. So maybe, should we go and unwrap it?
Definitely.
Yes. I don't know. Okay, let's try.
I don't know if you can see it, but everywhere on this parcel, it's written Stay Pride.
So. Okay, let's go. It's very safely stored. Okay, let's see what we have in here. A lot of foil and plastic. Maybe let's just like push it away. Oh my God, here it is. Okay, be careful with it. So maybe let's remove the foil as well. This is the painting from Briggs. First sneak peek for you. Isn't it so cool? It's actually painted on plasters because it's based on Hansaplast. There's such a personal story behind, because Briggs, after his personal mastectomy, actually wore a lot of Hansaplast plasters in his recovery process. And now he started to work on it to really process this whole process, also mentally, physically, by painting on plasters this kind of abstract male upper body. What a personal story.
Wow.
It's so cool.
Goosebumps again.
Goosebumps again. And I think all the other artworks have so deep and unique stories. You should come and check it out. So
Absolutely.
super beautiful.
Why should people visit our Pride Room, and for whom is the Pride Room?
The Pride Room is our month-long exhibition here in the office, and everyone should go visit. Either if you're part of the community, if you're an ally, or just completely new to the topic. It's such a cool and inspiring place. We have amazing artworks, we have other little gimmicks, you can inform yourself, we even have some goodies, so you should definitely stop by, give this place a view, and you can even book some guided tours where some of our fellow BU core team members will guide you through the room and even give you more in-depth information about the whole campaign, about the artist and the backstories, which is super, super powerful. So I think you can educate yourself, you can get entertained, you can get some goodies. So I think there's a lot in for you to visit the Pride Room.
If I may add, from a marketing perspective,
yes, of course.
I think what was super interesting in this entire campaign is to really see a very new perspective to our brands. And I think this is something so enriching. And this is something like voices we haven't maybe heard.
Yes.
And this is how it comes to life and how you also see these very new consumer insights. So coming from the perspective of marketing again, there's something in it as well, for sure.
Absolutely. So go check it out.
What are you most excited about for this project?
Seeing everything come into place.
Agreed.
I have to say, working for so long on it now, and even for us, it was a bit of a vision where we did not really knew where is this whole thing going, how will the artworks look like. The artworks are so stellar, they are so professional, so high quality, and bringing everything into one place now and being able to see it physically in front of your own eyes is so exciting. So that's the thing I'm looking forward to most.
I think that were some super nice words to wrap it all up. So here we are at the end of our first episode. And we have 2 more episodes, as I said, one with one of our artists, and then we take the brand perspective into consideration as well. So stay tuned for the next episodes.
Amazing. Thank you. Until next time.